Hello everybody. I'm going to be doing a multi-part video tutorial here on how to create this casino-like card flip game that you see in front of you. In the past, I've done some tutorials on how to create individual interfaces for a quiz or for a game, something like a cell phone interface or some audio electronics device for a true-false quiz. This is a little bit different than those, although I do a lot of these kind of things, and I thought I would try to make a tutorial. And when I decided I was going to do that, I had to solve a number of problems in creating this, what you're seeing here, and I'll walk you through a little bit of it. And it's going to be very difficult, I think, to do a tutorial on it because it goes all the way from creating the graphics, and there is nothing incredibly stunning about the graphics, but it does take a long time. Not being a great graphic artist myself, just tinkering around here. So it's going to take at least a full video to create the graphics that you see here, and then the various animations, and the big part is going to be the coding of this. And so I'm going to show you a little bit about what I'm going to be doing in this little series here. And this would be a game that I would create, that I would use for high school science students. But of course you could adapt it to English or math or anything you wanted to. I found over the years, being a high school science teacher, that students really enjoy the review games. And I've created quite a few of those on my website, www.zerobio.com. Various quizzes and games and things like that as I learned Flash over the years. And although it's been a number of years, I've never had any real training, and I haven't had the time to do that much reading and research on it, but I've come up with enough to create a quiz or a game. And this is what I always do with whatever I'm learning. I go, well, how can I use just a simple twirl effect in a quiz? And I would do that. And so this tutorial will be fraught with problems and solutions that I come up with that may not be the best way to do things. I found that it really doesn't matter. The file sizes are small enough that as long as the final product is somewhat glitch-free, the kids will enjoy playing it. And I am not trying to compete with some great Flash coder or graphic artist. I'm just trying to contribute. And if you have that in mind, then you can go ahead and do stuff and not put too much stress on yourself about I'm not doing it the right way, or someone's going to criticize me for this or that. So what we have here, like I said, is sort of a casino-like table here, and I've just got some sort of static graphics here and some other graphics, buttons and stuff. And what the student would do is they would come along and they would click on this card. It says click to flip. Now, there are instructions or help. All right, so if I click this, you can see some information, and that's always a good idea to put that there, but I'll walk you through it anyhow. They click on the card, and as you can see, it flips. And when it flips, it brings up these coins as well. Now, you can see when I mouse over, it turns to the hand, so these can be dragged. And so what the student does is they read the question here, all right? Chromosomes are replicated during this stage of cell division, and they have to choose from these 4 multiple choice answers. And there are 4 lettered spots here, A, B, C, and D, corresponding with the answers. Now, one of the challenges, a small challenge for some of you, but a rather large challenge for me, was to make it so that they could not just click the next button and go to the next one, or have a back button or anything like that, that they would have to play through this. Now, the check button is available right now to click it. I'm not going to click it yet, but if I did, it would mean I would skip this question. I would get 0 points. I wouldn't go negative or positive, and I'd move on to the next ones, like I didn't play this hand. But I'm going to play this hand, and I'm going to choose an answer. Now, I've got 3 coins that I'm given, and I can drag them and I can put them in any space. Once I release them like a chess piece, I cannot move them again. So in this area, once you release the coin, it will stay there. So if I believe the answer was A, and I wanted to bet $1, I would leave that there. Notice it flashes, and I cannot take that away. This has registered that I've bet one of my coins right there. I'm going to go for answer B, interphase, for these other 2 coins. I'll drag this one in. I can no longer move it. And this one in. And I can no longer move that. I can't move any of the coins. I have placed my bets, 2 in this one for answer B, 1 for answer A, and my score so far is 0. So now I'm going to check, press this button, and I can see that my score is 1. And that's because I had 2 in the correct region, indicated by this green box here and a check mark, but I had 1 in the wrong spot, so I lost $1, or I lost a point for that. So 2 minus 1 is 1. Then I would go to the next card, and this is a depressible button, so just watch the animation. All right, nothing special. And I am on page 2, or card 2. I then come back here and I flip this. My coins come up, and I'm on card number 2. I have a question, and I'm just arbitrarily going to bring these and put them anywhere. All right, we'll see if anything is correct. I will press check. 2 of my answers were wrong. 1 of them was right, so I lost 2 marks. I gained 1, or $2, and I gained 1, and my score is now 0. Now, notice that if I try to click on this, I can't before I've revealed the card, or the next. As soon as I flip the card over, the next button still doesn't work, but the check button does. If I don't want to play this card, check. This was the correct answer, so I can still learn from this. I'm just not going to get any points. I'm now able to move to the next one. So this particular game or quiz has 10 questions, and the 11th page is my win page to total up my score and say congratulations. So I'm going to do my best to get through this tutorial in multiple parts. I'm going to start by creating the graphics, and it is probably not going to look exactly like this, but it might look relatively close to this. And again, keeping in mind that I am not a great graphic artist, and I may do things the long way around and miss the shortcuts, but if it works for me and it works for my students, the final result is what is most important. It has taken me probably 30 hours to make this, whereas some people could probably do it in just a few. All right. The other thing I want to mention as I close this out is that the file size for 10 questions, and my way of coding is only about 115 kilobytes. There's no preloader here. It's just a tiny little program that gives a lot of pleasure, I like to think. So this is the file right here. I've just copied this to card flip final, and I usually call my final iteration, I call it final, because I'm going to have card flip 1, card flip 2, card flip 2, A, B, C, D, E, as I try things, and then I go back and I call it card flip final, and I know that's the last one. But I've called it for tutorial in case I'm clicking around here and I mess something up. I don't want to ruin my original. But as you can see, I've got 11 frames here, 10 are questions. I didn't start with a welcome to my world kind of screen. I started right into the game. So I've got 10 frames, and the 11th one is the sort of congratulations type thing. Let's see if we can have a quick peek at that. There's no way, I haven't set it up so that I could jump ahead and show you things, but that's basically what it would look like, and the score would be added up and shown right there. All right, and then when they press the next button down here, they could actually go back and play again if they wanted to. There is quite a bit of code. Let's see if there's a little bit here. And again, my code may not be optimized very nicely. This is, by the way, going to be in Actionscript 2, not Actionscript 3. And I'm using Flash Professional 8, and that's it. I'm drawing everything and doing everything right in here. And so again, some of my code may not be wonderfully optimized, and my motion tweens and all of that stuff. But if you're like me and you're maybe not a beginner, but somewhere around intermediate level, don't have the time to research the exact correct way to do things, but your action script does not give you an error and you're happy with that, then you can get results. And I just want to contribute and help out a little bit if I can and show you how I did this. All right, so I'm going to come over to a new file here. I'm working at 1280 by 720, and I'm going to switch this right away to 30 frames per second. That's the frame rate I'm going to use. I've called this card flip tutorial, and all I've got in here right now is a reference image from the first screen of that game, so I get a sense of where things are supposed to go. So I'll be using that, and once again, this probably will not look exactly like, you know, what I'm about to create. It's not going to look exactly like this. There's going to definitely be differences, and I probably don't have 30 hours, 35 hours of tutorials, and I'm sure you don't want to watch that much, so I'll go a little quicker, but trust me, I'm not going to be able to move that quick. All right, I will be referring back to this original file as well to have a look again at my code, because really it took a lot of trial and error, and then I'd go get some rest, and I'd be dreaming about this and going, oh, how am I going to do this? I got to stop this button from being activated now, and I'll activate it later, with the enabled true, enabled false, and I got to add up the score and stuff, and I don't make these things every single day, so I got to go back and try to remember how should I do that? How can I do that? And so, I'm going to have to refer back to my code. So what are we going to do here? We are going to create these spaces, I think, first to start off. And maybe I'll come in here and I'll go right away for, I don't know if not that green. I'll go for this sort of darker green to represent the tablecloth there. And I'm going to start a new frame. And now the way that I did this before is I used the pencil tool here, and I just created a stroke. So I'll try 25, and I'll try to create that space there. And I tend to like to use thicker strokes. It just looks a lot more pleasant to my eye, even though I'm not going to be keeping the stroke. All right, so I'm just going to roughly position it where I would want it, and this can all be moved, of course. And all right, let's say I was going to go for something like that. And so what I think I'll do is I'll go edit, copy, edit, paste in place, and I will bring this in. I'll zoom in so that I can see it, that I'm getting it roughly equal. And okay, cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose, I think, white. I'm going to fill that in, and I'm going to get rid of the strokes. And I'm going to make this, let me try 50% for the alpha and see how that looks, how similar. Okay, I could even bring it down maybe a little bit to, let me try 40. Oops, not 504. All right, something like that. Looks okay. I'm going to be doing a lot of saving. So this is going to be the, I believe I called it card space. I'll double check that in a bit. Card space. Let me just have a look at my layers. Okay. Card space. Yeah, card space. Okay. And what I think I'll do at this point is I'm just going to create these other spaces as well, maybe from this. And yeah, let's just drag one out here and squish it down a little bit like that. How big do I want these to be? They're sort of centered, right? All right, let's do this. do it both ways so we get sort of an even border. And I could have done something like that, but let me just line it up there, something like that. Okay, I could get 2 on that side, 2 on that side, and it would be similar. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call this, convert it to a symbol, I'm going to call this card space. And I probably have to give it an instance name. I'm just going to go ahead anyhow. I believe I will. Card space. And this one I'm going to call coin space. And now I'm going to need a bunch of these because there are 4 spaces. So I'll take that one. Oops, not that. Let's say do something like that. I'm just going to drag these out. I'm not necessarily going to have it perfect in terms of the spacing. Now, okay, let's have a look at that here. Looks pretty cool, actually. Yeah, like I say, it's probably going to be different than the other one, but that's fine. Now, these are going to have to be individual things. So this thing, yeah, see, I've got that as an instance named card space. And these are the coin spaces. And yeah, they're all going to have to be instance as well, coin space B in that case. So I'm going to come over here, come back down, and I'm going to call this coin space A. Coin space B, coin space C, and coin space D. And save it. All right, so far so good. Now, I think I'm going to put this text inside it as well. So I'm just going to come into this one, and I might call this body for now. And I'll come up here, and I'll call this text. And I'm going to choose, I think I'm using impact for this part. Yeah, and I'll continue with that. All right, so I'm just going to do some drag. Okay, so I'm going to need a separate one. Okay, that's fine. Drag coins here to bet on answer A. I'm going to do it like that. Okay. I realize it's showing up in all of them. I'm going to have to call these all separately. I do want impact. Something like that, although I would like to go for maybe, what does 20 look like? Yeah, I think I might like 20 here. All right, so drag coins here to bet on answer A. Well, I've got an extra word in there. It doesn't really matter, but I'll make it a little bit less. Okay. Now, this I am going to actually call this coin space A. I'm going to do it exactly the same as my instance name. This is going to be coin space B. C and D. So we'll come into here and I'll just edit this, say B. Now when I did this, I actually made that letter bigger, you know, something like this. Whether or not you choose to do that, I don't think I'm going to bother with that. Just save a little bit of time there. Okay, so we've got that so far. Okay, now the coins can obviously be dragged on top of that text, and that text won't be too, you know, imposing. Now, we are going to need to create this card, and that's going to take a little while in the animation. So I think what I'll do is, I think maybe I'll make this check button. Now, in the original, I called this the bet button, and that I started out by saying bet now or place your bet. And then I realized, well, that's not the best terminology that I could use because people are betting by dragging coins onto the spaces. So then I switched it to say check, but I had written so much code I left it as bet button. So I may go ahead and call it a bet button anyhow, just to keep my code straight. All right, so let's go ahead and draw something like this, and just let me have a quick look at it. All right, so, and I may have to shuffle things around a little bit. I'm going to choose, I think that orange, that black, the rectangle at 0, and I want a stroke of 3. We'll try that. I'm just going to drag something out here, something like that. Okay, that looks good. Let's go ahead and convert this. I'm going to call it bet BTN. Registration point in the middle. That's fine. I'm going to call this bet button. And I may need to instance this, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to move my microphone just a little bit so I can see the screen a bit better. Okay, hopefully you can still hear me all right. And actually, I'm going to move it closer. There, we'll do it like that. Okay, now, what I want to do is I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to call this body. I'll come up a layer, and I am going to put some text, and I'm going to use, I'll use white and Verdana. Or did I use impact on that? No, I didn't. I used Verdana. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and static text, check. Oh, I like the impact, but I think, let me check and see which one I ended up using. No, I did use impact. All right, maybe you knew that. I forget what some of these look like anyhow. All right, so we'll I can space this out a little bit by, I'll put 2 in there, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy, and I'm going to paste right on top of it. I'll turn it to black, and I'll just go up 1 and to the side for 1. Have a quick look at that. So that's looking okay, and we'll just make sure that that's, you know, exactly where I want it, you know, right in the center type thing. I'm just going to lower it a little bit. Let's see what that looks. Yeah, it looks pretty balanced right there. Okay, so that's going to be my text. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little bit of a shine on this button by grabbing the body, copying it, putting it above the body, but under the text. Same color. I'm just going to grab half of it, about half, doesn't matter, cut it off, select that piece that's left, go to white, oops, not black, go to white, and try about 25% transparency and see if that looks sort of shiny enough or too much. That's fine, fine with me. I'll just call this shine. And I'm also going to grab the body again, paste it on another layer. I'm going to move it behind. I'm going to turn it to black, and I'm going to use 50%. No, that's not what I'm going to do. That's not what I'm going to do at all. Sorry about that. I'm going to choose, I think, this green. And I'm going to expand this. I'll double check if I got the right green. Just expand it a little bit on all sides, trying to get roughly equal. I think that's not the right green. That's too bright. So I'm going to experiment. Is that the same green? Is that the same color there? What do I want? I do want a lighter color. Maybe that was it. I'll have a look over here. And just maybe a little smaller. Okay. I'll zoom in and we can shrink that down. Yeah, that's all it is. This is too much. This will sort of make it look a little bit like it's inset. This gives it a bit of a brightness, like as if it's sort of the edges. There we go. That's fine with me. Okay, so this is, I'll call this inset. And this is going to be an animated button, so we're doing some code and we're doing some graphics at the same time. Can't avoid that. So I'm just going to put in a stop in the first frame. This is going to be a very simple animation, so I'll add a second frame. F5, I'll drag the stop over again. And I believe all I want to do for this is grab these three, actually, just the body. I'll put another keyframe there. And I'm going to change the body color to darker, which is probably weird. Most people go lighter, but I want to go darker in this case. Now I'm going to test this button out. So I'm going to select the whole button. I don't care if I've got the indent as well. And I'm going to say on press. This is just sample code for now. On press. This dot go to and stop frame 2. And on release. This dot go to and stop back to frame 1. Now I want to do one more. All right. I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm also going to do on release outside, because sometimes people press the button and then they move their mouse outside of the button and release there. And we need to do this to make sure everything's working right. Okay. Good. Save it and test it. There you go. And that's what you get. So that's my bet button that we'll be using in a bit. Okay, well, you know what? We're on a roll here with graphics, so we might as well do the page number as well. And then I'll adjust the order of the layers later on. All right, so I'm going to draw a circle, and it's going to be that same color. So I might as well go ahead and grab that right now. 3 for my stroke for the moment until we think differently. I'll put that roughly up in the right corner. Something like that. I might be too small, too big. How does it compare? Might even be similar. I think I actually cut this stroke down to 2, and maybe even less than that. No, we'll stick with that for now. And okay, let's go ahead, and if I convert to symbol, and I'm going to call this page number. And I'll go in here and I'll do the same thing I did with that shine. Copy. This is the body. And I don't remember what style I did this, but I'm just going to cut off the bottom. And I'll do the same thing again. Switch this to white. 25%. And for this one, I usually like to just grab it and pull it down a bit. So it looks something like that. All right. I might have a thicker stroke on that one, actually. We'll find out soon. What I will do is I'll grab this, edit, copy. I'll bring it another layer, edit, paste in place, and I'll bring that under and try that green, and I'll expand this just a little bit. Let's try that, see if that's the right amount, and that'll be my inset. And up here, this is my shine. Let's have a look and see what that looks like. Yeah, that stroke is looking a little fragmented here. So I might try 3. That might be too much. It might be just going right back to where I was. Yeah, I think, well, I kind of like it. But no, it is too much. So we'll come back to 2 and we'll just live with it. Okay. Now, what I did for this was I created a symbol for that, and then just right on top of that, on this layer, I did the text so that I could easily change it. So I'll show you what I mean. This would be page 1, and probably going to be using Verdana for that. Yeah. And just find a size that I like, keeping in mind I'm going to have to go past 10, but I won't be doing that in the tutorial. Just look at that, look at the position. So what I just did is I would take that, edit, copy, paste in place, make it black, and then arrow key 1 up and 1 to the left. And that looks pretty good right there. All right, so I've got the page number going. I think I'm going to come up to the very top, and I'm going to create an actions layer, and I'm going to put a stop in there because we will be needing that later on. So let's check out what we've got so far. Okay, now probably all this stuff will have to move down a little bit. I don't particularly want this check button at the same level as that. I can see about moving this, up a little bit. As long as I select everything, I can do that. In fact, why don't I do that right now? Let's move everything down just a little bit like that. Check it out. All right, we're laying this out and it is looking good. Let's go ahead and get done as many of the simple graphics as we can. This next button here, I want to make that. All right, and you can see I've sort of got it inset there. Doesn't look quite as good, but that's all right. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to call this next BTN. And I find it really helps to label my layers in this case. Now this is going to be the same color scheme. We'll go with 2 as our stroke for now. And I'm just going to grab out, just draw something like that, rectangle, something like that, doesn't matter. I'm going to grab the whole thing, distort, hold shift, bring this somewhat close together, just kind of like that, a wedge-like structure, and then I can grab the whole thing and I can shape it the way that I really want to. If I want it bigger or smaller, I'm going to have to get some text on there, so we'll do that in a bit as well, but I think we're okay, and it's even bigger than the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call this my next button on my next button layer, so everything's working out good. Do I need to instance that? I don't think so. All right, I'm going to come into it, and I'm going to do what I always do. Edit, copy on the body. Lock that up, new layer. Edit, paste in place. And we are going to cut off the bottom half of that and convert this to white at 25. we get a little bit of a shine. Now I think I did something different on this particular one. Let's come out here. Let's see if I can zoom in here. It'll be actually easier if I do it on this. If I select it. You know, I curved that, and I'm going to do the same thing on this. All right. So I'm going to come into this button and zoom in, and I'm going to. This is the shine. So label your layers. Makes it a lot easier. And grab the end. I'm going to bring that down here, and I'm just going to push it up here, and I think I'll do it there as well till it sort of snaps. There. It may not look exactly the same, but that's fine with me. And I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to use white, and I believe I'm doing impact again. I could get some of these fonts wrong. And I'm going to say next in caps, and I might leave that spacing actually. I'll try 24. See how well that works. Let's just have a look at it. See, yeah, it's a bit too big. And I might actually not like this spacing, although one might look good. And I'm going to go with possibly 20. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, it's pretty narrow here, so I want to push it back. I'll move it down a bit more. I'm gonna try in that position. Convert this one to black. Pasting right over top is not a problem. Grab the top one, nudge it over one and up one, and let's see. I can move everything around. It does look a little off balance. I think that's pretty good. Maybe even down a tiny bit. All right, let's say we were going for that. Now, I am feeling like this stroke. I always do this. I like big strokes. I want to try 3. I just want to see what it's going to look like. And I may go back and do 3 for all of these. I'm going to stick with that for the time being, actually. And what I'll do is I'll grab the body and I'll paste it on another layer, and I'll convert it to that green. I don't remember which green it was anymore. I think it's that green. And this I just brought it underneath. I'm going to stretch it out and stretch it up and see what that looks like. It is the same green. Yeah, that's basically what I had before. All right, so that's I'm calling it my inset. And this is text. I'm going to create an actions layer. Put a stop in there. And make another frame. F5. Alt, I'm on PC. Alt, click and pull that stopover. And what I want to do in this frame, F6, I just want to change that body color to that darker orange. And I might just leave it at that kind of change. So what I'm going to say here is on press, this dot go to and stop frame 2 of its animation on release. This dot go to and stop 1 of its animation, but also I'm going to put root dot go to and stop 2. That'll take me to the second frame of the root timeline. But I'm also going to do on release outside. Now again, I'm doubling up the code, but it's just not a problem for me. All right, let's have a look at that. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah, And when I do that and I see that, it makes me wonder how it looks like a thicker stroke there. How is that happening? What am I missing? Well, I'm not going to worry about it right now. In fact, if I go back and bring this back to 2, because I might continue just to work with 2 for all of these graphics. That looks great. Okay, so, we got some consistency in this, a common sort of look. Okay, cool. Now, nothing is coded the way it's going to be in the end. We're just doing some sample coding. We're already building up a good number of symbols, though. Okay, next button is done for the moment, and I'm sort of putting off the card a little bit. Let's make a coin. Let's make a coin. Okay, so I'm going to do another layer. I'm going to call it coins, and I will adjust where these layers must be in a bit. And so for this, I am going to use, I believe it is just that, and black for now. But I'm going to get in a little bit closer here. And in fact, it might be a good idea for me to draw on top of this, because I need to be able to fit 3 coins, although I don't mind if they're overlapping, on top of each other. Now, that's a stroke of 2, right? Okay. So the way that I'm doing this is I'm going to grab this stroke, edit, copy, and I'm just going to go edit, paste right on top of itself and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll try 7. Actually, maybe 8. And I'm going to come over just a tiny bit like that. And I'll grab that part of the stroke and delete it. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to choose, I'll start with this darker color here, but I don't think that's, yeah, that might work. Let's see what I did up here. I think that is what I used. All right, well, that's fine. Let's go with that, and let's go modify, convert to symbol, coin. Now this is going to be coin 1. I'll go ahead and I'll give it that instance name. And let's come in here, and let's grab the top. I'll call this body if you want. I'll grab the top. Paste it on the layer. I'm going to turn this into black at 50%. And this is going to be a shadow. I'm going to bring it underneath and tap it around a little bit below. A little bit to the side, a little bit below. We'll see what that looks like. See if it looks like it's sort of a 3D coin sitting there. Yep, something like that. Okay, cool. And then we'll come up to the top layer. And I'm going to have to, because I did my strokes that way, I'm going to have to, let's see if I do that. Yeah, that grabs the whole thing, so that's fine. That's what I did before. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to deselect, if I can, anything I don't want. Is there an extra little piece in there? Oh, I selected it again. I'll try it. Edit, copy, come up on another layer. Edit, paste in place. And I'm just going to bring that in a bit. And I'm going to make this hairline. And I think I'll also make it a bit of a lighter color. We'll try that. That may not be the best color. That's pretty much what I did there. And that's fine. And then I'm going to do these circles. In fact, I might go back to a slightly darker color for that. Yeah, I think I didn't go quite that light. And I may have stuck with 1 actually as well. Okay, so good enough for the moment. Whatever, a ring. And now what I'm going to do is I'll try it this way. I'll try that same color, or will I? No, I'll try this color, and I'll get rid of the stroke, and I'm just going to grab a circle and draw the tiniest little thing like this. Now, on these coins, I did them in white and a dot, I think. Yeah, just to make them show up a bit better. We could do that. Again, this is not going to look exactly the same. So I will go ahead and convert that to white. And I think I started with that, and then I did something else. So I'll show you. Let me get these into a good position here. My computer is starting to lag a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to go edit, copy, edit, paste in place. I'm going to bring this down. All right. Get the two of them. Edit, copy, edit, paste in place, modify, transform counterclockwise. So we get that. I'm going to select the whole thing again. Paste in place, modify, transform, scale and rotate, and now I want to rotate them 100% 45 degrees. Okay, looking good. And I'll do it, I think, one more time. Paste in place, modify, transform, scale and rotate, but this time I'm going to do it half of that, 22.5 degrees. Okay, and I'm going to call these dots. Save it. And let's have a look at what that looks like. Okay, so now, I think what I did is I copied them again, made them black, and then I think and I could be a little wrong, I think I rotated them a little bit. Maybe I'll take off snap. Let's just try this and see if we get sort of an interesting effect. So it looks like okay, that's not too bad. What if I, instead of making these black, what if I made them that dark orange? How would that look? You know, it's kind of a cool look, but I think I like the black. And it's just a question of what position I want that in. You know, can I go a little bit that way? Would that look a little bit more realistic? You know what, I'm just going to stick with it like that. You can do whatever kind of designs you want. So I'm just going to cut that and place them on the dot layer. And that's just fine. I'll use that layer. And I'm now going to add my text. So I'm going to go $1. Each will be $1. And I'll just find a size that I like for this. I could try this. It doesn't always put it where I like it anyhow. Let's just have a look at that. And yes, yeah, I don't like the position of that. I don't really like the size of that. And I also don't like that. Okay, so let's go 24. And just mess around with the position a little bit better. No, not quite yet. Almost though. Okay, that's reasonable. Yeah, So let's take that. I'm going to convert that to white. Edit copy. Edit paste in place right over top of it. Turn it to black. And then I'm just going to hit the arrow keys over one and up one and see what that looks like. May not be all that visible. I could, if I really wanted to, grab the whole thing and then transform and just make the whole thing. Maybe I do want it bigger, you know, and try that. Maybe it'd be a little bit more obvious, and then position it a bit better. Let's try that. At some point, you gotta just go with it. That looks pretty good. All right, and this is going to be text. But I'll just do one more thing to it as well. I'll grab the body. Yeah, I'll grab the body. And I'll come up and I'll do this maybe just right above the body. I'll paste it there. And for this, what I'm going to do is I think I'm just going to just slice across it with the line so I can cut it, and I'll remove that piece and get rid of the line, and now I've got that, and I'll make this white. I'll do that shine thing, and I'll go 25, and I'll just pull this, and that's not necessarily what I did before, but that gives it a little bit of a sort of a shimmery kind of a thing. And call that shine. Now lots more will have to be done with these coins, but that's for another time. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back out, and I do think that's probably going to be a little bit too big, so I'm just going to get it a bit smaller, 0 and maybe 85. I'll try 85 and see if it's too small. No, that's perfect. All right, so it's going to look like this. You're going to have your coins like that. All right, and that's good enough for the coins. All right, are we recording still? Yeah, it's already been almost an hour, and we're only here, so you can see it's going to take a heck of a long time. I'm going to do these dice, all right, and I created a layer in my previous one that I just called props, things that aren't going to have any real code on them and do anything. And so these dice were just a real cheat. I don't even know if they have a stroke on them or not. Yeah, they do actually. They have a sort of a lighter stroke. I'll start with this anyhow. All right, and the rectangle. And I don't know what to do. I'm gonna try 10, and I'll just come down here. I'm just gonna drag out a square and see if that's gonna work. Yeah, that's gonna work okay. And I think I need to make this. Let me try just a little bit of a darker color. Oh yeah, that's why. I want at least 2, if not 3, as my stroke. No, I think I'm probably good at 2. I'm going to select that, and I'll work on inside of it. I'm going to call that dice. And I'll come into it, and I'll zoom in, and we'll see what the deal is here. Okay, so that's what we got so far. I'm going to grab the body of the dice and copy it, paste it on another layer, bring it underneath, make it black at 50%, and I'm going to move this sort of like that, and from a distance it should look rather dice-like. I'll make it smaller. Okay, the whole thing smaller. Okay, we'll do that in a moment. But for now, I'm going to just take black with no stroke, circle. I will actually need a stroke in a bit now that I think about it. And figure out a spot for these and then copy them over like that. No, that's not right. That's the right amount. And then I'll just move all of these, something like that. Okay, have a look at that. Sort of looks like dice. Maybe the holes need to be a bit bigger, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. And I do need a stroke on there. I'll try one and see what happens with this. It's not really going to be very evident or anything. But now, what I really did, if I wanted to be specific, I came through here and I cut it, and I got rid of that piece. And actually, no, I didn't do that. I took this piece, I kept the stroke, but I copied that. And I pasted it there. I went back, got rid of that line. Oops. And for that one, I made it somewhat lighter actually than that. Well, actually did my dice a different color initially, and then I went for white. But we'll try this and we'll see if that looks. Oh, actually, well, one thing I do need to do is I moved it so there was a bit of a gap, and it started to look like you could see it was like a little depression in there. Okay, in fact, I might even want to cut off that piece so the light is coming a bit more on an angle. In fact, what I'll do is I'll even cut that piece there too, because I like that back part of it there. Let's see what that looks like. Nope, that's too much. Just like that. All right, and then copy it down. Copy it to this one, just sort of position it. Copy it to the next one. Have a look at it. Okay, this is a little bit too extreme. Okay, now when I shrink that, it's going to look better. Holes, rim, something like that. And now let's have a look at these a little bit more. Yeah, I did put a bit of a shine on it, but let's just take this and shrink this down. See if it starts to look a little bit more realistic from a distance. Not too bad, eh? Let me check out the shadow. How far did I go? Yeah, I went further on the bottom. Okay, yeah, that'll help. Okay, let's do that. Okay, it looks a little bit taller. Okay, so what you can do is, if you're satisfied with that, you can take that, copy it over. What I could do is I'll call this, I'll duplicate it and call it dice 2. I'll come in and I'll do it like this. Well, no, I'll just take this one over like that. And I'll take this one over like that. And then I'll copy this over here like that. And I'll copy this one over to there. I don't know, I think I lost it there. something like that. And I'm going to take this one and, rotate it. Nah, I don't like it that much. Just something like this. Okay, and you could certainly come in here and change this to something like that, and the white would show up a bit better, but I prefer the actual white color, and I actually would prefer to make these a little smaller, just as little props. Let's see how we're doing. Yeah, we got our dice there. That looks okay. Right? Maybe even smaller if you like. Okay, so far so good. All right, now getting close to, I'm sure we're well over an hour now, and we're getting closer to having to deal with the card, which is going to take a little while. Yep. I think for the sake of this tutorial, I should cut it at this point, and in the next tutorial, I'm going to make the card and go on with a few more graphics. All right, so hope you've enjoyed this so far, and looking forward to doing the next part for you.